Magic again. Messi through 4. Brilliant! Threads it in. And there's the goal from Pedro.
It's sports on 32 FM 94.9.
Right, so there could be a party in Merseyside later tonight by 8 p.m. And that's if Arsenal Football Club are losing London to the hands of Crystal Palace. That game is set to go down by 8 p.m. Between Arsenal and Crystal Palace. It is a London derby, but we know that for Arsenal, they've been the victorious side in their last 5 meetings at the Emirates Stadium. Well, outside England, we have games in the Italian Serie A, also Cagliari against Fiorentina, Genoa against Lazio, Parma against Juventus, and Torino would be up against Udinese. And then we'll talk about the Spanish La Liga as well. Atletico de Bilbao against Las Palmas, Celta Vigo against Villarreal, Alaves against the Real Sociedad, Getafe against the Real Madrid. And for the Los Blancos, they have Kylian Mbappe back in training, and he is maybe in contention to face off against Crisantos Uche's Getafe later today. And you know that for Real Madrid, this is just going to be a build-up to that's a Copa del Rey final against FC Barcelona. Of course, the El Clasico final we are set to see there in Spain. Well, outside that, we discuss about Nigerian football. That's talking about the under-20 boys. That's talking about the Golden Eaglets, where they are in Egypt. They won their Flying Eagles, under Aliou Zubairu. Yes, head coach of El Kanami Warriors. They are in Egypt at this point, and then they won their friendly game. That was yesterday. But the main tester for them, the 7-time African champions, are they going to win their first game against Tunisia and go all in the group stage to pick a ticket to be at the Under-20 Men's World Cup there in Chile? Well, that will be the question and also conversation for today. But outside our football stories, we go straight to the court and talk about tennis as well. The year definitely began with a banger for Jannik Sinner, but this man, he has missed, let's say, 2 months out of action now. That's in the world of tennis, but he's set to be back next month. That's the month of May. That's the Roland Garros, the second major Grand Slam of the year. Now we'll talk about tennis. We'll take a look at the winners in the year 2025 in the ATP and the WTA categories, who definitely has marked the books in the world of Formula One. We know that it is all about the McLaren at this point. Oscar Piastri, well, he is doing so well for the McLaren. And then we talk about everything that also surrounds the exciting world of sport. But I have Peter here with me. But we start off with a bit of football stories, and that is from the reactions of games that went down yesterday. Well, for Peter, he was expecting that's a tough match yesterday there at the Etihad Stadium. Well, trust me, it was 1-1 at the 90th minute. But for Matheus Nunes, who had the opportunity, well, he scored his first goal for that's Manchester City yesterday, and that goal came in handy for him. 3 points he handed Manchester City yesterday, and you could tell that this result also has propelled Manchester City into the 3rd position there in the English Premier League. Remember that sides who definitely are below Manchester City now, who definitely are in contention to play in the UEFA Champions League for next season: Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, and Chelsea Football Club. They all have a game in hand. And a victory for them in all of these games will always see them surpass Manchester City. That's talking about Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. But for Chelsea, if they win their game in hand, they would be on 60 points. But how the season is shaping up with 5 games left for the majority of the sides in the English Premier League. But for Manchester City, just 4 games left. Pep Guardiola, an happy man yesterday. For Unai Emery, not the best of night for him. Good afternoon, Peter.
Thank you for having me, SAMIES. Not the best. I wish they had the best, because I remember I heard yesterday saying that they have the upper hand based on the numbers on the table. They've won more games than any side in the top leagues in Europe. And going to the game against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium, I was expecting Unai to tell the boys how they went about it in previous games, but that was not the case. They thought 1 point would be enough. Even Pep himself would have been saying to himself, we share the spoils and then we'll go home. But hey, the man they bought from Wolves for about £60 million was on hand to score his first goal. A man has been playing out of position for a very long time with Manchester City, was on hand to finish that ball after the cross from the Belgian, talking about Jeremy Doku. So it was a good night for Pep. For those who saw the game, we saw how he went about hugging the boys. We saw how super excited he was. The likes of Rodri was on hand also to watch, including Haaland. It tells you how important every win, like he said before the game yesterday, the games they have in hand at finals. And this is just maybe like a dress rehearsal or what we might likely see in the FA Cup final. Because don't forget, why do we have these games going on? It's because City, Villa, and Palace, who played tonight against Arsenal, will play in the FA Cup on Saturday. Yes, Nottingham Forest also played that game against Spurs. So, apart Arsenal, who are not playing in the FA Cup this weekend, the others are playing. That's why you have them play these games early enough, because there will be games in the Premier League this weekend. So, it was a big win last night for Pep Guardiola. And those are good signs. These are signs of champions. These are signs of teams who know how to grind out the result. The result wasn't the best a couple of months ago for Pep. But whatever Pep has said to the boys, whatever he has said to them, and I watched his interview or had read one of the interview he granted, and was talking about Bernardo Silva, what he has done for the side the last few months. Things weren't good, but he saw the intensity from the Portuguese. So I think for City, they have the players, they have the manager, they have the bench, and they also have the name to play Champions League football. And for what they did last night, they will say that was a big one for them. Because if you take a look, Sam, is that the teams they have remaining, you see Villa looks like the biggest test of them all, and that test they were able to pass last night. And so for the others that will be coming to the Etihad, or those that they will go play away from home, I see City in this one getting the job done. This weekend they play in the FA Cup. That's where Pep attention will be. He'll probably be saying to his mind and of course to the boys that no matter how bad our season has been, we are not winning the league. We're not playing the Champions League last four. Let's go ahead and win the cup. And not just win the FA Cup. Maybe see if they can also finish in the top five. Don't forget it's top five in the English Premier League.
Well, just as we are looking at the top five in the English Premier League, before we come back to discuss about the game set to go down tonight, yesterday also across the centres, the champions in France, Paris Saint-Germain were held to a 1-1 draw against Nantes, and also Valencia played out a 1-1 draw against Espanyol. But Barcelona, well, in a much more changed 11 also, they defeated Real Madrid by 1-0. And a colleague said to me that these are the kind of results Barcelona would be getting in their games till the end of the season. They are in the Spanish La Liga. They are also on hand to win the treble. We have three teams in Europe who are on hand to win the treble. Yeah. That's FC Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain, as well as Inter Milan. Yeah. But for Barcelona now, looking at it, 7 points advantage already. They're in the Spanish La Liga just before Real Madrid takes on to the field of play later tonight. Hansi Flick said his side had 40 shots yesterday, but it was 1-0. And said he's happy with it. He will.
A build up to the game, he talked about the timing of the game. It wasn't the best. And I just jokingly said within me that a couple of weeks ago, it was Ancelotti that was talking about the timing of that game. 24 hours after Arsenal played that game and knowing that they was going to have that return leg against Arsenal, but the La Liga never asked, they never granted their request. They went on to play that game, and I remember jokingly what Hansi also said. Hansi Flick said, now it's his turn. Before the game yesterday, he was talking about the timing of the game, so he wouldn't mind. And of course, he rested a couple of players who were starters in the side, just to rest them, keep them fit. The likes of Rafinha and Frenkie de Jong were not playing last night, even though the Brazilian came on at the point in time for Ansu Fati. It was good to see him back for Barcelona. Starting game last night, he was not too happy over the weekend against Vigo when they won by 4 goals to 3, and he was thought at that point in time he was set to come on until Hansi Flick told him to go back to seats, and he didn't come up in that game, and so he got annoyed. But last time they had a chance to start the game for Barcelona, and they won by goal to nil. So, like they say in football, what's the end result? Did they get to win? The bottom line is yes, they won 40 shots. And I saw that game last night, trying to shift between the game and that of City against Aston Villa. They created chances, and probably been saying 3-4 in the first half of that game, but that never happened. But Hansi Flick would take 1 goal and 3 points, and later tonight see what Getafe would do in the Madrid derby against Real. For Real, also don't forget these two teams will be playing in the El Clasico. That will be the Copa del Rey final this weekend. Quickly, let me just mention Mendy and Mbappe will not be playing the game tonight, but are out injured. But Carlos said these two will be fit and good to go on Saturday when they play in the Copa del Rey final. And for 𝐿𝐿 will not be playing the game tonight because he was sent off in that game over the weekend.
All right, we'll talk about that before we go on this break. Let's quickly discuss about this story also, which definitely emanated from football. Well, it's all about the death of a footballer who definitely treats this game. That's in South Africa, and that's the South Africa footballers. That's Zinamandla Zondi. He died yesterday after collapsing in the warm-up before his second-tier match. That's according to his club statement. That's at Durban City at the age of 22. And now this also reflects back to what happened last week also, where Gabonese forward, talking about Aaron Abubsenda, he died also last week following a fall from the 11th floor of a building there in China. Well, I think 2 months ago also, it was confirmed that another Nigerian died also. That's within his club side. So what is going on with player welfareism in leagues that maybe much more attention are not into?
For this one, China fell from 11th floor. I don't see what the club can do about that. We don't know, maybe it was push or it was tired of life. We don't know what happened, but he fell. And so the club we can't put the blame on the club about being not caring or welfare here. I mean, that's said. The guy who died in South Africa, we know that players go through medical tests, check up and all that before season starts, during the season, before games. And these things happen. There are things that, that are preventable, some are not preventable. But it's so sad. The bottom line is that it's so sad to see these players passed on and still playing football. I remember a couple of years ago, it was the Ghanaian who died in Turkey during the earthquake in Turkey, Christian Asu. I mean, that was just a sad one. They did everything they can. So these things have been there for a long time. It's not the first time. But all we just wish is that the family, the club side also, everybody, in moments of respect to the players and, of course, see what they do. But like you talked about welfareism, you talk about what the club need to do. The club will do their part, and it's left for the players also to take care of themselves, just to ensure that they don't end up halfway or the untimely death come to play. So it's so sad to see this happen in South Africa and in Gabon. All
right, we go on this break. When we come back, we'll just go straight into England and take a listen to the words of Mikel Arteta. Well, speaking about the availability of a few of his players later tonight. And also, if they lose against Crystal Palace, what will the party be like there in Merseyside? We go on this break. We'll be back.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Tí wọ́n bá bi ọ́ léèrè pé kí o dárúkọ eré ìdíje géèmù mánigbàgbé tó dángájá, bẹ̀tánù ni ìdáhùn rẹ̀ lọ́jọ́kọ́jọ́. Ó yá tara ṣàṣà kí ìwọ náà bá wọn jẹ àǹfààní nínú géèmù alárinrin tó fanimọ́ra ní ìpele pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà igba 200,000 owó ìkíni káàbọ̀ àti àwọn ẹ̀bùn mìíràn bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. bẹ̀tánù ayò ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ báyìí. Forí pípẹ́ tayò yìí o. Ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ látòrí ọmọ ọdún 18 lọ sókè. Alájọṣepọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ Aston Villa ni wá.
32 FM
94.9.
Still Scoreboard Reloaded right on 32 FM. Let's go straight to the Emirates Stadium and take a listen to the words of Mikel Arteta speaking about Oliver Glasner and the Crystal Palace.
Both in the table and have semi-finals in the FA Cup coming up for them. How do you feel he's doing now that he's managed to adjust to the pace and what is a demanding league here?
Unbelievable job. I think what he's taken the team and the club, and to be in the position they're right now. I think they fully deserve it. I think it's given the team a very clear identity. I think it's maximized the squad and the ability of that squad, and they are really tough opponent. They are really well coached. I think it's got a very clear mentality how he wants to approach games, and they are very competitive. I mean, to reach the position there on the table and where we are in the FA Cup, certainly is not a coincidence, and I think they deserve it.
You said
All right, today listen to the words of Mikel Arteta speaking about Oliver Glasner. But then, before I get the reaction of Peter as regards Mikel Arteta and also his team, let's take a listen to him also speak about Arsenal losing a game and Liverpool being crowned champions.
Together, they might have a bit of champagne on ice just in case. Is that an incentive? Is that part of your team talk?
Our incentive is to win our game and do our best to continue with the run that we are in right now. The rest we cannot control.
Do you like a bit of house?
Well, all right, so you listened to Mikel Arteta there. Win their games with 5 games left for Arsenal. Of course, I don't think Liverpool are going to get bad results in their next 5 games.
Tonight, like you said, SAMIES, if they don't get to win their game against the Eagles, then you can start the party. It reminds me of 2016 when Chelsea were playing Spurs at the Bridge, and Leicester players gathered somewhere and they were watching the game, and knowing that a win for Spurs would delay
that
title.
happens almost every time. The season Liverpool
maybe
won the league also.
Maybe the time this don't happen is when the league get down to the wire. That reminds me of when United and City were jostling for the league. It was 2012 or 2013 now.
Yeah.
And so these things do happen. But for tonight is the Liverpool players maybe converge in the house of Virgil van Dijk as the captain of the side and watch the game.
Salah.
Salah, yes. So they might just go anywhere, go to the manager's house. It's not likely where they want to go. The players will want to hang out on their own, and then see maybe the Eagles will do them a big favor, beat Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium, and then Liverpool will just start pumping the champagne. The fans also across the globe also will be interested in the game tonight. They want to see what the Eagles can do, but based on form, I don't want to jinx this again. Based on form, you expect Arsenal to take out Palace just the way they took them out during the EFL Cup game when they had that game at the Emirates, and Arsenal won by 3-1. And of course, in the league also, they won by 5-1 in the league. And that game
in December.
Yeah, that got Saka out injured. But like Arteta said yesterday, he's fit for the game tonight. So we'll wait to see. For the Gunners, attention will be more on the Champions League next week against Paris Saint-Germain. They have no game this weekend because that game has been moved to Tuesday. So it's good for them to have the moment to rest and, of course, prepare for that game. One thing that I love Arteta do is that he's not resting his players like United are resting players. And you saw what happened to them on Sunday, saying that attention more is on the UEFA Cup. Arteta is playing his players because these players have to be fit. Yes, you want them to be careful, but they also need to play games to be fit. So tonight we'll wait to see between 2 London sides. But I think Arsenal will delay that party. Though the party will still happen, they will delay it tonight.
Well, all right, so let's see how that goes. But quickly, we just switch our focus to tennis. And this as regards everything that has happened in tennis, that's in the year 2025, the Australian Open, Jannik Sinner. And then we'll talk about the female, that's the WTA also, where we had that's what's her name? Arina Sabalenka. No, Madison Keys, yes.
Yeah, Madison
Keys. She
won
won the Australian Open.
Yeah.
So how has it been for you looking at tennis in the year 2025, especially in the ATP category now? We know that Carlos Alcaraz has been blowing hot and cold this year, really. But then there has been an absence of Jannik Sinner in a bit of some Masters, a 1,250 tournaments. And then how are you going to say the tennis season started for you?
You can't put Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, Daniil Medvedev, and these other guys where they want to go do 250, ATP 250. For the guys who want points and all that, just to get them into some majors, they'll do 250. But 500 ATP, 1,000 ATP Masters, you see this heavyweight there. The start of the year, we've just seen one Grand Slam that was on hard in Melbourne, Australia. And afterwards, we've seen other Grand Slam, hard courts indeed. And now we have moved from hard to clay, where we count down to the French Open. And it's not been the best in terms of what I've seen so far. you expect that the boys or the men should close down on the Italian, but that is not happening because lo and behold, the Yannick Sinner will be back in the next few days. His suspension will be over, and then he will have the chance to play in one ATP 1000 before the French Open in the month of March. So I expect him again to dominate, but it's also good to see that Carlos Alcaraz, who said a couple of hours ago that don't compare me with Rafael Nadal. I am Carlos Alcaraz. He is Rafael Nadal. So, but it has been good for him on clay. Monte Carlo was fantastic. He went to Barcelona, played in the final. He lost to Goruna in 2 straight sets. So kind of good for him, winning one, getting the final of one. Wait to see what he will do in the Madrid Masters. And then we'll see the big one, which will be the French Open. So you begin to put all of this together for the ATP and say maybe it's another race again for 2. Just like we saw last year, Carlos winning 2, Yannick winning 2. You begin to ask questions about the other guys. What are they going to do? How far can they push these other guys to the rest of the year? The Grand Slam are there, the ATPs are there. Jump over to the WTA. Again, it's same of the same. It's Sabalenka, or you call the Polish, talking about 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐄𝐑 to get this one done. But it's good for them because ordinarily, like we saw with the men, the women, not the top seed, won the first Grand Slam of the year. Madison Keys won. Yeah. And you put that in record against all odds. But he went on to win that one. So I wait to see how it will end up. The ladies.
Where does this put Jasmine Paolini, the Italian?
Yeah, I'm going to come to that. The question about her, because she reminds me of Simona Halep, the Romanian, petite. The stature is not there. Like you want to compare them or these girls with Sabalenka or Maria Sharapova when she was playing tennis. They've got the stature, but this gets inside. But we'll see what Simona Halep did, won a few Grand Slams. So I'm waiting to see what the Italian will do, just like his male counterpart is doing in the ATP. I want to see how he can push both Sabalenka and the Polish girl, talking about 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐄𝐑 this year. But again, SAMIES, the girls again, you don't know the best of them on clay. For the men, we can easily point at the Spaniard.
Maybe Iga is probably good on clay.
But the dominance is not there yet. So I want to see how this year, what she will do for the French Open. That will be in Paris.
You know, it's all about consistency. So for last year, Jasmine Paolini, just like I mentioned, the Qin Wenzheng, the Chinese lady also. But I've not really seen much of Qin Wenzheng. And then maybe much more, I'm not really impressed with the performance of that Minister of Happiness in the Moroccan.
The Moroccan or the Tunisian?
The Tunisian,
Ons Jabeur.
I've not really been impressed. It's been years. You got to the finals. Come on, you should.
You will know we're talking about the inconsistency with the ladies. You expect an Ons Jabeur of playing in a couple of finals of the WTAs and of course the Grand Slam to push this year. A name hasn't popped up. SAMIES. So it's so sad that the one who represents the Arabs, who represents Africa, is not pushing. It's so sad to see that happen. And it just gives you a sign of how the year might be for them if they're not careful. So it's a lot to look forward to. But the same, we're not disappointed in seeing the likes of 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐄𝐑 and Sabalenka. We saw how they pushed each other last year. SAMIES and Sabalenka.
Was also in the mix.
The Belarusian end up picking that. And it's sad to see the Chinese lady, how she did so well in the Olympic Games and in the turn of the year coming over to 2025. It hasn't been the best for the Chinese girl. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see the best of them. Maybe they save the best for mid-season. So when we get to the month of May, we have the third Grand Slam, the month of June. We're going to see the XW19 in London. And then come August, we're going to have the US Open in Flushing Meadows. Maybe at this point, I will see those guys. So maybe they're struggling for now. And hopefully they can come back stronger. But of course, we have to give kudos to both Sabalenka and 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐄𝐑. Just the way we're also doing for the ATP end between Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner.
All right, so moving away from that, so let's go straight to football. We'll talk about the Under-20 African Cup of Nations, where the Flying Eagles will take on their African counterpart Tunisia. That's on Thursday, May 1st. I know that's a long time for now, but in preparation for the Under-20 African Cup of Nations, where they are eyeing to win their 8th title. Well, they won that's one of their friendly games at defeating that's the Young Pharaohs of Egypt. 2-1 yesterday. That's under the guidance of Aliou Zubairu. But Manu Garba, he has said that the boys shouldn't be complacent and they should remain focused on an opener against Tunisia. Well, I know for African football now, maybe the age level, we've not really been performing well like that. That used to be the thing for Nigerian sides. But in recent years, we've not been performing well. And it is just sad that I think the last World Cup, we were not there. The last under 20 World Cup we were not there, and this is an opportunity for us to also be at the World Cup there in that's Chile. If I'm correct, that World Cup should be in Chile. So the boys, what's his name now? 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐒.
Yeah.
What can we expect from them? That's in this under 20 African Cup of Nations.
𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐒 is not new. We saw what he did within the FA Cup last year, and how it helped the team play in the lower division, play in the CAF Comfort Cup, even though they didn't go far. He's in charge of the under 20. Under 20 should build it up to the main Eagles, but we know how that have happened over the years. So let's move away from that. So for this one, they've got Egypt, they've got Morocco and Kenya in the same group. Or is it Tunisia now? I know they've got two North African teams to contend with for them to get out of the group and see if they can qualify for the World Cup. And I saw a list of the players going to the AFCON for under 20, and I'm amazed with the number of defenders that's going, except maybe for the midfielders who can switch and play the defensive position for the team. And for Zubairu, I want to cut him some slack. It's not for me here to come here and condemn. It's good that they started well in Egypt, where they've flown out in the last few days, won their first friendly game. They've got a few coming before the tournament starts in the month of May. So all we want to say, yes, is that this is not under 17. What you say is developmental. This is under 20. And interestingly, there's Daniel Bamei again in the side. You begin to wonder how many under 20 will this boy play before he jumps over to the Super Eagles. But hey, it is what it is. If his age is within that range, he's got the right to play there. Well,
definitely he's got the right to play. But time is fast spent and we have to leave the studio. We didn't touch it, but then games, like I said to go down in the Italian Serie A and also in Spain. Atletico de Bilbao against Las Palmas, Celta Vigo against Villarreal, Alaves against the Real Sociedad, Getafe against Real Madrid, and then Cagliari against Fiorentina in Italy, Genoa against Lazio, Parma against Juventus, Torino against Udinese. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us. We'll come again tomorrow. Scoreboard, that's by 7:45 to 8, and also Scoreboard Reloaded. I am SAMIES, your sports captain. I've done this alongside Peter. Do enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.